conditioning at North York Civic Center was not working. Apparently it's working now, but we will conduct this entire meeting virtually. Although we may be meeting in different locations today, Community Council would like to acknowledge that the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississauga of the Credit, the Ashawabi, the Chippewa, Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississauga of the Credit. Today's meeting is being held by video conference, being live streamed online at youtube.com/Toronto City Council Live. So I've already mentioned that the air conditioning at North York Civic Center was broken when this meeting was scheduled to be virtual. Apparently it's working now. We hope to be back at North York Community Council or the North York Council Chamber for our next meeting. If you're registered to speak at today's meeting, please listen for me to call your name. I will call speakers in order they appear on the list. The list of speakers can be viewed online by visiting North York Community Council page at toronto.ca/council and clicking the speakers box for today's meeting. Members, the city clerk has provided all agenda materials at toronto.ca/council and on CMP, the clerk's meeting portal. Clerk's IT staff are available to members. If you need help with your devices, I also want to remind you to please submit and approve your motions by email. Staff are available at nycc@toronto.ca to help. Are there any declarations of interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act? I do not see any. Councillor Cole, I do not see you, and I'm not sure why.
Well, I'm here at North York live on my.
I think you probably have to use a WebEx on your computer and use your computer camera.
Okay, so yeah, Councillor Cole, just try and get your video working. Okay, so there's no declarations of interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. May I have a motion to confirm the minutes from our meeting of June the 20th, 2023? Moved by Councillor Cheng. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. So we can then go through the item. There's 3 new items to add to the agenda. Matthew, we can do that now if that's all right, because it's kind of in the script here. So and I had my list, and I don't have my list. Okay. You know what? I don't have them handy. I'm going to get them in a minute. So why don't we run through the agenda, and then Matthew will add them at the end. Item 7.1, Wilson Heights Boulevard, Joel Swirsky Boulevard traffic control signals. It's a negative staff report. I'm going to move deferral of that item. It's in my ward, and there's some more work to do on that. All those support deferral to the next scheduled North York Council meeting.
I think the clerk is trying to give us advice on that.
I just wanted to know to which meeting. It sounds like it's the next meeting.
The next scheduled meeting. Item 7.2, 2350, 2352 Yonge Street. Councillor Cole.
Which item is this?
2350, 2352 Yonge Street.
Yeah, well, 1 second. I'm just trying to get my video on and everything. What a mess.
Staff recommend opposing the application.
Oh, yeah. Listen, let's hold this. I want to ask staff a question. This is the wafer.
Okay. Item 7.2 is held for questions for staff. 7.3 is 124 Broadway Avenue, rental housing demolition application. It's approval report. I'm going to move it on behalf of Councillor Robinson. And it's an awfully lengthy report. I'm going to move the item number 4. Usually there's 3 options here. I don't know why this is stretching several pages. I'm going to move item number 4. We're going to approve the demolition with conditions.
All in favor?
Sorry, Mr. Chair. I don't think there are options in this report.
Well, the demolition reports usually have 3 options. This one stretches several pages and a series of conditions. It's broken down into, I don't know why it's broken down into 4 options.
These are recommendations to City Council. This is a rental housing demolition, so this isn't like a usual residential or rental housing demolition. Normally, the ones that you see at Community Council are delegated items. This is not a delegated item. This is above 6 units. I don't believe these are options.
No, they're conditions.
Yes, and these are recommendations that that would go before City Council.
Yep. It's actually a rental replacement agreement. I'm in favor.
All right. Well, we are moving staff recommendations, so that's what's before us. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Item 7.4, 136 Broadway Avenue.
All part of the same project.
Same part of the same project, and we'll also move staff recommendations. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Item 7.5. 7.5, also Councillor Robinson. I will just comment that
I think you have speakers on this item, Mr. Chair.
Okay, we'll hold for speakers. I did want to alert speakers that they're very close to a settlement. So both the city and the property owner are very close to a settlement, so that even if these staff recommendations are adopted, negotiations can continue. So we'll hold that for speakers. Item 7.6. Councillor Burnside's 789 to 793 Don Mills Road. I don't see any speakers. And Councillor Burnside's office would like me to move the recommendations. So I'm going to move the staff recommendations. All those in favor?
In favor.
Thank you.
Opposed? That is carried. Item 7.7, 123 Winford Drive, official plan and zoning bylaw amendment application appeal report. Also, Councillor Burnside would like these recommendations moved. All those in favor?
I'm in favor.
Opposed? That is carried. Item 7.8, 1 Greenbrier Drive, 635 Shepherd Avenue East, official plan zoning bylaw amendment applications approval report. That is time for 9:30. It is past 9:30, but we can hold it.
Mr. Chair, I know there is a speaker registered, but that's a representative for the project. I have a quick item that I've submitted to the clerk that actually solves the outstanding issue and that has the technical language to it. So if that is moved, the speaker has withdrawn their name to speak, and we can adopt the item with that motion.
Right. Yes. No, I do have a note that the speaker has withdrawn. If you have a motion to dispose of the item, we can
right now.
Okay, we can do it right now. Everyone had a look? All those in favor?
I'm in favor.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay.
Yeah.
Item is amended. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. 7.9, 150 to 160 Cactus Avenue. Councillor Cheng, what are your plans with that
I'd
item?
like to move staff recommendations.
Staff recommendations moved on item 7.9. 150 to 160 Cactus Avenue. All those in favor?
I'm in favor.
Opposed? That is carried. 710, 5318 Yonge, 5320 Yonge, a series of addresses on Yonge Street and 11 Churchill Avenue, official plan and zoning amendment application. Councillor Chen.
Move staff recommendations.
Staff recommendations moved on item 10. All those in favor?
I'm in favor.
Opposed? Opposed? That is carried. Item number 11, 6212 66 Yonge Street, official plan amendment application, appeal report. Councillor Cheng.
Move staff recommendations, please.
Staff recommendations moved. This is directional. Okay, all those in favor?
I'm in favor.
Opposed? That is carried. 712, it's my ward, and we're going to hold it for speakers. 713, I'm going to defer that to the next regularly scheduled North York Community Council meeting. All those who are in favor of deferral?
In favor.
Opposed? Opposed? That is carried. 714, Plews Road parking amendments. I guess that's my ward. I will move the staff recommendations. All those in favor?
I'm in favor.
Opposed? That is carried. 715, 2673, 2675 Bayview Avenue, naming of a proposed private lane for a development. I don't have any speakers on the item. The approved name is Bell Guest Lane. And Councillor Robinson has asked me to move the recommendations. All those in favor?
I'm in favor.
Opposed? That is carried. 716 Don Mills Road and Rochefort Drive, traffic control signals. City staff is authorizing the installation of traffic control signals. This is Councillor Burnside. I will move the staff recommendations on his behalf. All those in favor?
I'm in favor.
Opposed? That is carried. Item number 17, 338 Bayview Avenue, designation of fire routes and amendments to Chapter 880 fire routes. Councillor Cheng.
Move staff recommendations.
Okay, staff recommendations moved. All those in favor?
I'm in favor.
Opposed? That is carried. Number 18, 35 Empress Avenue, designation of fire routes and amendment to Chapter 880 fire routes. Councillor Cheng.
Move staff recommendations.
Staff recommendations moved. All those in favor?
I'm in favor.
Opposed? That is carried. Number 19, 49 Bogart
Staff
Bogart.
recommendations.
Avenue. Bogart Avenue, designation of fire routes. Councillor Cheng, you're moving staff recommendations. Staff recommendations moved. All those in favor? Opposed?
I'm in
I'm
favor.
sorry. I thought it was Bogart Road for a second.
Bogart.
I'm sorry. I got
It's
a
okay.
little distracted there. Okay. Now I have the list of the new items. We'll get to very shortly. Number 20, Doris Avenue parking amendments. Councillor Cheng.
Move staff recommendations.
Okay, staff recommendations on item 20. Doris Avenue parking amendments, all those in favor?
I'm in favor.
Opposed? That is carried. Item number 21, we do have speakers, so we're going to hold that item. Councillor Cole, that is yours. Northern Community denied the request for a permit to remove one privately owned tree. Okay. 22 is 30 Blithfield Avenue, application for fence exemption. We're going to hold that for speakers. Councillor Carroll, that is your item. And item number 23, appointment of public members to Larry Grossman, Forest Hill Memorial Arena Board. My first political job was with Larry Grossman. Oh, actually, it was my second political job. Councillor Cole, there are some recommendations here.
I'm in favor of the staff report.
Okay, staff report moved by Councillor Cole. All those in favor?
I'm
Opposed?
favor.
That is carried. Enhancing safety and pedestrian safety on Adra Grado Way. It's Councillor Carroll.
Yes, Mr. Chair, it's here before you as a new item without a staff report, but it's simply because it's kind of an urgent measure needed on a new development that's now fully occupied. It's a social housing revitalization project at Leslie and Shepherd. Staff haven't had time to write a report, but they've made all the visits and done the research, and so I'm prepared to ask my colleagues to move it today, but if they want to ask questions, Simona DeChico is prepared to answer them.
Okay, does anyone want to hold the item? It's a walk-on item. I think it's regarding speed humps, calming. I'm
Slowing
assuming.
people down. We're slowing people down where there's a lot of kids playing ball close to the street.
Oh, the clerk has his hand up.
Thank you.
Oh, I know what you're going to say. You're going to say you have to add it to the agenda first and then decide whether to adopt it or not. So I need a motion to add it to the agenda.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
I'm in favor.
Opposed? Carried. If you want to deal with the item right now, it is on the agenda. Councillor Carroll has moved staff recommendations. Does anyone want to hold it? Any questions for staff, speakers?
I'm in favor.
Thanks.
Okay. All right. Well, Councillor Carroll, you're very fortunate. You have a very friendly council here. All those in favor?
I'm in favor.
Opposed? That is carried. The second new item is item 25, speeding up to slow down. Reducing speed limits in wards 15 and 17. Councillor Robinson supports this, so I'm going to turn to Councillor Carroll. First, we have to have
Councillor Robinson is actually moving it. I'm the seconder, but as she's not here, I can speak to this.
Right, but let's add it to just a sec. Let's add it to the agenda.
Sure.
All those in favor of adding it to the agenda?
Yeah.
Opposed? That is carried. Now it is
Very quickly, Mr. Chair. We're not asking to spend a whole lot of extra money. We are the last two wards to have Vision Zero installed, despite being the two most vocal councillors to have Vision Zero in the first place. Maybe that was the strategy. But what Councillor Robinson is moving is that we just ask staff to strategically look at it. If there's any way to accelerate wards 15 and 17, sort of, we're doing these streets, can we move over the boundary and add these two? Anything that could accelerate the installation of Vision Zero speed limits in those two wards so that they get done quicker, sooner rather than later, we're asking in a motion for that consideration.
okay. Thank you for that. I don't think you're going to have a problem here. Councillor Cole, it is so nice to see you. You look very refreshed from last night's late night meeting. Any other, does anyone want to hold the item or ask questions of staff? It's brought by Councillor Robinson. It's really just reducing some speed limits in their areas, in their catchment areas.
if we can
I
afford
will-
it.
Okay, I will move it. I will move it on behalf of Councillor Robinson. All those in favor?
I'm in favor.
Opposed? That is carried. The
And I want
next
to thank
item,
Councillor Lily Chang's Vicky for getting me on video. She's great. She's a computer whiz. Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
item number 26 is mine. It's a reopening of a fence exemption. What's prompting this was a visit to the property. I visited the property and we spoke to the homeowner and got a better sense of this file. I'm going to, if it's the will of council, I'm going to reopen it, but then defer it.
Okay.
And we'll fight it out. We'll fight it out at the next meeting. Okay, so I need a motion to reopen, support to reopen. All those in favor? And then I will immediately defer it to the next scheduled community council meeting. Okay, so that's off the plate. Okay, so let's go back to items that we still have to deal with. Oh, apparently there's one more new item. Let me just. Mr. Clerk, I don't have that item either in your email or in front of me. Could you just refresh us on what it is?
Yeah, we'll display it shortly. This is a new item of business that we received from Councillor Robinson this morning. So not enough time to get into your script and so forth, but we'll just put it up on the screen here for you now.
All right.
Oh,
So we need a motion to introduce this as an item, and then you can consider it.
I'll move a motion to add it to the agenda, and then if we want to discuss it, we can debate it. All those in favor of adding it to the agenda?
very much in favor.
Okay.
Yes.
Opposed, that is carried. So it is on the agenda. We can either hold it down or I can move it on behalf of Councillor Robinson. It's entirely will of the committee.
I'm happy to vote for it now. I know that's stretched quite well.
I'm in favor.
Okay.
Not that I'm stalking Drake or anything. That's just a neighborhood I cut through.
Yeah, no, we've had some very famous motions that have gotten some media attention, including one motion that made it into a Crave documentary. Okay, all those.
That's the Great Wall of China there, whatever it is. Great Wall?
Well, yeah. Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay, I believe we go back to item 2. Councillor Cole held it down, 2350, 2352 Yonge Street, zoning amendment application appeal report.
Okay, yes, I just have a question of staff, just for council's edification here. This is an application on a 40-foot lot on Yonge Street, just north of Eglinton, and they're asking for, 40, 50 stories. I can't even remember. I got so many applications. So it's a 40-foot lot, basically no parking and no access that I know of except through the front door. So anyways, the staff report is saying to basically fight it at the Ontario Land Tribunal. And so the question I have with staff is, in the recommendation, it says that we should go to the tribunal and present the city's position of opposition as the resident associations are opposed to it. The question is, in the staff report says we should go to the tribunal and then continue to iron out differences or whatever it is, with the applicant. I just think, well, the question is, how can you really even talk to the applicant about this application? It's just beyond doable on a 40-foot lot. How many stories is it again? I'll ask Shelley Chan, who's there. Shelley?
Hi, everyone. Through you, Mr. Chair. So the application is a zoning bylaw amendment application, and so it has a 90-day appeal period. It came in July of 2022. So the appeal period would have been sometime in October of the same year.
Yeah, so it's for how many stories again?
Let me take a look at the staff report, Councillor.
50, I think it's 50.
It looks like 50 stories, and these units must be pretty big because it's only 323 units.
Well, I think it's like might be one or looks like 5 units per story.
But anyways, it's 50 stories on a 40-foot lot, right?
Through you, Mr. Chair, that's correct.
40-foot lot. How do ambulances or purelators or wheel-trans pick up potential residents there?
Through you, Mr. Chair, that's something that we continue to have to review. The application presently shows a laneway access at the back, and there is also Yonge Street frontage.
Do they have ownership of the laneway at the back? Isn't that the City of Toronto Library property?
Through you, Mr. Chair, so the subject lands do not actually touch the boundary with the library. They do have a laneway at the back that is accessed via another laneway on the adjacent property to the north through easements.
How wide is that laneway?
Through you, Mr. Chair, it's I believe 6 meters approximately, or a little bit more than that, but I can look into that.
So, and how many parking spots are there for the residents?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I would have to look into that.
I think there's nothing, no parking. So anyways, the question again I have is, I mean, this is such an outlandish application that I'm just wondering, do we have to even continue discussing it with the owner? Do we have to put that in the motion that we got to continue discussions with such an outlandish proposal?
So through the chair, it's David Sid here. Thanks for your question, Councillor. I think, certainly as Shelley has said, the application's been appealed. We typically continue to have discussions. I will say that there have been situations in the past, though, that even though this right now, the application is a small lot, there is the potential that additional lot consolidation can take place. And I think our report also highlights that was something that was being discussed to the north and to the south of the existing property. So that would effectively make the lot larger. Whether or not that's going to happen or not is another question, but that would be something that I think we would take the position that right now that site is not large enough to accommodate a tower. But stranger things have happened, and things have happened with lot consolidation.
I'm just wondering about the sensitivity of us continue these discussions in light of the fact is that seems to be a dispute between 2 or 3 developers that are basically unable to come to some consolidation of properties. I mean, if they were to consolidate the other 40-foot lot, and I think the bank to the south, maybe you'd have a reasonable thing. So I'm just wondering whether we're sort of playing into the hands of the applicant who's trying to basically tell the opposing landowners that if you don't consolidate or whatever it is, I'm putting up a 50-story tower next to your convenience store.
Yeah, through the chair. I mean, I certainly don't want to second guess their intentions, but I think, as I said, right now, our recommendation is to oppose the application, and so that is outlined in the first recommendation of the report.
So, okay, and I guess we just have no choice but to say we've got to continue discussions, I guess, and that is an informal discussions. We continue with the applicant, or have we had any, since they went to the tribunal, are there any discussions that have been held informally?
I'll suggest that perhaps Shelley will know if there's been further conversations taking place.
Can I just jump in, Councillor Cole? One of the things as legal counsel, I just want to remind everyone of is that we are in litigation on this matter. And so the nature of the discussions, if there are any ongoing, would be confidential. And even the fact of the discussions would at this point be confidential. I don't know the answer to the question, but I think if there's a desire to discuss specifics on this file and potential conversations, we would need to move in camera.
Yeah, okay, anyways, thank you.
That was your last question. Councillor Cole, that was
That's
your
fine.
last.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
So any other questions for staff? Councillor Carroll?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I note in here, it looks like large units, but the comment in the report actually is that the unit sizes don't actually meet the guidelines in our growing up vertical guidelines. Is that the case? And is that, that's a sort of voluntary policy? Is that something that we can press on applicants given Bill 23?
Through the chair, I would say that you're correct, Councillor. The guidelines for the unit size are what they are guidelines. Obviously,
Yeah.
we try to strive to achieve some of those parameters. We are quite successful in terms of achieving the unit mix, as you probably know, but the size is something that is an ongoing thing. We do try to get some of the units certainly to be of the size that's recommended in the guidelines.
Right, but if we could really push my experience with the buildings built so far with it, we really have to push that they look at our size of bedroom and guidelines. Otherwise you get what is called a 3-bedroom unit, but not really. And so we can really push on that, because it sounds like what they're trying to say is small building, or tall building in a small footprint, but what generous units inside. But if they're under our guidelines, they don't really accommodate kids in what is a fantastic school district. So we can push on that. But the other thing I just wanted to ask, it's also one of the reasons you're opposing is it does not comply with our Yonge Eglinton secondary plan. We don't have our Midtown in focus in any way, shape, or form anymore. The premier's removed that. But is the Yonge Eglinton secondary plan that we voted to update, is that in force currently?
So through the chair, I think we're talking about the same secondary plan, which is the Midtown in focus that applies here.
So this is the iteration that remains of that, and that is in force?
It is in force, but there are policies that obviously the province has modified in their decision that has added additional flexibility in terms of those permitted uses and insofar as the heights are concerned in the secondary plan.
Okay, thank you. Those are my questions, Mr. Chair. I'll be watching this one with interest.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Carroll. Any other questions to staff?
I do.
Oh, Councillor Chen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm just wondering, what are our policies on developments that are fronting on a major street like Yonge Street in terms of commercial versus residential? I think I've also struggled when developers are taking up frontage on Yonge Street for amenities or other things that are not commercial or community space.
So through the chair, I would say that that is also one of the issues we have flagged in the report. Yonge Street is identified as a priority retail street. And because of the size of this lot, there's a challenge in terms of putting retail as well as a residential lobby in this building. So that is, again, one of the issues that we have.
Is there anything that I think, like, what is the strength of our leverage in that area? So when you have a development on a major retail road, what kind of power do we have to ensure that it's maximally used for retail?
So through the chair, I mean, I would go back again to the policies that are in that approved secondary plan, right? As I said, it identifies it as priority retail. It doesn't specify specifically, you know, how much of the frontage of that property is to be retail,
Right.
but we would expect there to be, you know, a fair bit along Yonge Street because it is a main street.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you. No more questions for staff. Speakers on the item?
Yes, can I speak?
Yes, Councillor Cole.
Yeah, okay. Just again, I think what Councillor Carroll was referring to, we used to have the Midtown and Focus secondary plan. It's a plan that took 5 years of community work, and they come up with a wonderful plan called Midtown and Focus. It involved the 3 wards, Councillor Robbins, myself, Councillor Matlow's ward, and they came up with Midtown Focus. But as you know, the provincial government and the former Minister Clark came along and said, that's not good enough. There's not enough density. So they ripped up the 5 years of work, and they came up with their own plan in some back room called OPA 405. And so they put in all kinds of site-specific, almost applications or definitions of what was allowable. So where in some sites they already had approval for 34 stories. Well, with the Minister Clark's new OPA 405, they said no, 34 stories is not good enough. Try 64. So that's what's happened site by site. There's been a site by site specific zoning changes, towers allowed where there was mid-rise. The mid-rise are all gone. It's all towers. So this is in that context of this application, which is on the west side of Yonge Street, and it's basically an area where there's just, I mean, we've got 10 70-story towers coming up. We've got no public infrastructure, no real parks. The only park we have is Eglinton Park, and that's being swamped by people because of the thousands moving in. So anyway, so what happened here is that this is a basically small 2-story retail strip where there's different owners. So what happened, they came along, and the ideal thing was for consolidation, as David said, but there has been no consolidation. So one of the owners says, okay, I'm going to turn my 40-foot lot, that's, you know, an average house lot, into a tower, 50-story tower. No parking, no access for vehicles, service vehicles, never mind wheel trans, never mind all the drop-offs, taxis, Uber on Yonge Street, and where you can't even find a place on the sidewalk, never mind the road. So so this is meanwhile they're not getting the cooperation of the owners on each side because maybe they're going to come up with 50-story towers too in each 40-foot lot they have. So, and then what's happened, as usually happens, is that people will go up they go directly to the Premier Ford's Ontario Land Tribunal, and they're asking for approval there at that tribunal. And so there's been basically very little ability for us to have any say in this because we're at the tribunal. And then, as you heard the lawyer say, we can't talk about it. You can't talk about it in public. It's all closed doors. So I, as the councillor, can't talk about it. I know our director of planning in the area, David Sitt or Shelley Shan, they can't talk about it. I can't talk about it with my residents because it's all confidential. It's all behind closed doors. So I just, that's why I said, why are we even continuing discussions with this applicant when we're being part of a, let's say, some kind of contest between the various owners of what they can build on these 40-foot lots there. So here we are, we're going to the tribunal and opposing it as is happening. And that's why I'm glad we finally got the stickers. And I hope you put up your stickers. They're going to be available for you because, you know, every application is now going to the tribunal. And now with Bill 109, if we don't answer in 90 days, boom, we get fined too. You know, the city gets fined. The taxpayers of Toronto even pay if there's no action in 90 days. So I'm going to put up a sticker certainly at this location that please call your local MPP. And this is at your friendly Ontario Land Tribunal. And, you know, go fight Mr. Ford and Mr. Clark or his successor, whatever it is, at the tribunal. So again, that's why I'm going to support the staff recommendation. I even wanted to take out the reference to further discussions because I think we're being used as a city here in some kind of land dispute with adjoining owners. So, but this is the new, world we live in, of 50-story towers on 40-foot lots with no parking and no access. And again, this is a scary thing that's happening. And somehow we'll see what happens here. So again, I'm going to support the staff recommendation. Sorry for the long overview of what's happening, but this is the Disney world we're living in here in terms of development in this province now. With
okay, Councillor Cole, you're at 6 minutes.
Thank you. Okay,
any other speakers on the item? I would just you sort of touched on a couple of important themes, and I thought I would just share a couple of thoughts. The last development deal that we did before the community benefits charge replaced the Section 37 was in the William Baker neighborhood, and we were able to secure 20% of all units built there would be affordable. We also secured about $7 million in Section 37 funding for a community center that was long promised, as well as a series of network of parks. We can't do a fraction of that now. We would barely get probably less than a third of that Section 37. It's highly unlikely we would get the affordable, the 20% affordable that we got back then. My first development application that came through on the CBC, we got the crumbs. We got no affordable. We got a what probably is a community benefit charge of about a third of what we would have normally gotten. And this doesn't show up for about 5 to 10 years on how damaging this is, because those are the monies those Section 37 monies that we secure, as well as the affordable, are for the future. That is money in the bank that we use to help invest in community assets such as parks or recreation centers or public realm improvements, gathering spaces, and so forth. And will dry up in 10 years when the Section 37 in our escrow accounts are gone, and our parks and our community assets will start showing that. So it's worth mentioning because it came up in passing last night when we talked about affordable housing, and a concern that went around the council chamber was that there's a disagreement over what we can ask developers now. Councillors believe that we can ask developers to be good corporate citizens and offer some of their units for affordable, and unfortunately, planners don't really concur with that. That it's not in the legislation, and we really don't have anything to back it up. We shouldn't be asking. My view is, if you don't ask, you don't get. So I'll leave it at that because I know we have time constraints here. If there's anyone else who wants to speak on the item, I'll pass it over to them. If not, I think Councillor Cole is moving the staff recommendations. Councillor Cole, you're moving the staff recommendations?
Yes, reluctantly, I'm moving the staff recommendation.
Okay. All right, staff recommendations moving item 7.2, 2350 to 2352 Yonge Street. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. The problem is I have too much paper in front of me.
I think your next one is number 5, Mr. Chair, with speakers.
Yes, you are correct, Councillor Carroll. We do have speakers for number 5. And I'm looking for Cameron Steinman.
Hi, Cameron Steinman here from Leaside Baseball Association. Can everybody hear me?
Great. Yes, we can hear you. Thank you very much for joining us. You have 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much. I do have a question at the end of this, but we made a submission fairly late last night regarding the proposed development at 1779 through to 1787 Bayview Avenue, which is the southeast corner of Bayview and Eglinton. There's a proposed 30 or 35-story building there. For those who may or may not know, Howard Talbot Park directly abuts the proposed development to the east. And for those who don't know the Leaside Baseball Association, we've been in operation since 1946. We serve children in the community and surrounding communities. We have enrollment of over 1,200 kids and their families. And our 2 core baseball diamonds for our programming is at Howard Talbot Park. There's a West Diamond, which immediately abuts the proposed development. And by abut, I mean the proposed development has a building within inches of the property line. And there's a baseball diamond there that's right up against that as well. That West Diamond has lighting. We also have an East Diamond, which serves slightly younger kids, that does not have any lighting for night, okay, for night baseball play. And we have 4 sort of pillars of concern about the development that's being proposed. Number 1 is, as even evidenced by the developer's submission to the city, significant shadowing is going to occur on the baseball diamonds during prime activity time, depending on time of year, during actual baseball playing time, which would be from the late spring into early fall. We're going to see shadowing on both baseball diamonds from about 4:15 p.m. until, or it starts at 4:15 and then goes into the rest of the evening. During closer to the solstice, it's about 5:45. Point being that on our East Diamond, that's going to render our ability to provide any meaningful programming in the evenings. So really every weekday, games and practices are typically played around 6 p.m. Until around 8 p.m. when it's too dark to operate on that diamond. That shadowing is going to make it unsafe for baseball to be played, having a 30-story building sitting there blocking the sun. So we have concerns about the overall building massing, but beyond that, and I think the Leaside Residents Association will elaborate more on that, we're going to need lights on that East Diamond to make it so that it continues to be useful for such a vast proportion of our programming that we're going to be doing there. The second pillar here is around liability. Look, we have baseballs, foul balls that go into that area where the proposed development is going to be. With that building pushed right up to the property line, very simply, baseballs are going to hit that building or hit residents or their visitors. And so we definitely need some weather tolerant screening or netting that's preventing that from happening and keeping baseballs within the field of play. There has been screening put in temporarily by Metrolinx as the LRT was being installed. That screening was not adequate and was torn up by the wind. Something else much more meaningful and permanent needs to be put in there. Number 3 is just general hydrology concerns about the site. Our West Diamond in particular remains soggy long after rains, in part because we were having significant runoff from Metrolinx, but in general, historically, that site has been soggy. By adding the building there, that's going to limit the amount of sun that's hitting the grass. That field is going to have a significant reduction in the amount of time it can be spent serving the community. Yep. Sorry, was there a question there? No. Okay. Moving on. The final thing is really aesthetic, and I think the LRA is going to elaborate on this, but the building really doesn't match the neighborhood context. Certainly with the park use right next door and the general architecture of the community, our view is it would be ideal, acknowledging the fact that probably a building like this is an inevitability, but just some consideration, particularly on the lower floors, to fit into the architectural context of the neighborhood. So we made a submission. So you guys should
no, you're done, right? Okay, if you could, you're over 5 minutes. Are you done?
Yeah, I'm finished.
Okay, great. Thanks very much. Are there any questions for the deputant? Just one. When it comes to the lights, I'm assuming you've been in touch with the local councillor and parks, see whether it can go on the capital plan, and see whether maybe a future community benefits charge can be applied to the cost. These are things I'm just wondering whether you've explored or will explore.
Yeah, we've been having a discussion with both, not at a comprehensive level with both Councillor Burnside when he was serving the community, and then Councillor Robinson after that. Most of the discussion had been with parks, and really just a candor from parks saying, look, if we put this in the capital plan, it's not a priority and it's very, very far away. But that was all preceding this proposed development. And so I think really this proposed development may give an impetus to do that, but we need to be contemplating timing here, right? And if getting into a capital plan means these lights go in 5 years or 6 years, I guess it has to be lined up with when this construction would occur.
All right. Well, that might be a little over optimistic, but anyway, work with your local councillor. These things are solvable, especially when there's some cash coming in from a local development. Any other questions for the deputant?
I have a question. Sorry to interrupt. I just had a question. You referred to the fact that there has been a fairly mature negotiation that's occurred. Are you able to elaborate on that to just give some context here?
Well, that's something you'll have to. Well, we can go to questions to staff, and maybe when if someone wants to ask staff, they can get.
So, Madam Speaker, if I can just interject, I think that's exactly what, under the new regulations that the province has imposed, that's exactly the difficulty that our legal counsel Jessica Braun was just talking about.
Well, I thought the inquiry was broad enough that it could be in the public domain. But anyway, we'll leave that for now. I saw Councillor Cheng's hand go up. Yes, Councillor Cheng, questions for the deputy.
Yeah, so just adding to what Councillor Pasternak was saying, just wanting to ask, you know, has the use of development charges towards above grade park improvements? I think there's a way where DCs can be used for park improvements, not necessarily community benefits. And so anything that the park needs should be listed out and talked about with your counselor. So including the netting you're talking about, the lighting, like have a dream for your park, even upgraded bleachers, like dream big, because it is a sacrifice, you know, in terms of the shadow. So whatever benefits you can get to make your park beautiful, and which will also be something positive for the future residents, I think this is your window. And I guess I'm just asking if you are intending to maximize this opportunity.
I appreciate the coaching. We were trying to be pragmatic with respect to what we could get out of this, but certainly there is a bigger dream.
Yes, dream big. This is your window, is well, I have to say.
Right, thank you.
If I could just add, dream big, but be pragmatic, because there's no money for these improvements in the city budget, okay? So you're gonna have to talk to your MPP, because all of our, you know, old section 37, that's all gone. Development charges are minuscule. So you can dream big, but talk to your MPP. Because
well, that's part of the reason why we want to bring it up in this forum. Is it sounds like there's a negotiation happening between the city and the developer. Is there not an opportunity to extract this consideration from the developer?
Exactly, and that's the problem. We can't even talk about it, as I said.
I guess, yeah, and I'll have questions for staff, I think. So let's just, we can.
Yeah, all right. Yeah. So thank you very much, Cameron, for that. Jeff Cattell? Jeff, can you hear us? I'm not sure what that noise was. I think we're having an audio problem, either that or there might be a mouse in the room. I don't know.
Yeah, Mr. Cattell is having that audio problem he sometimes has. I think he can reset it.
Okay, there you are. Jeff, we can see you. We're just a little bit of trouble on the audio.
No.
You might have to phone in.
Nope.
No, it's very squeaky. Jeff, do you want to try and phone in and just give us an audio presentation? Or maybe turn your camera off.
My kids would love that audio filter, whatever it is.
Well,
it's a very common thing for Mr. Cattell. He knows how to reset it. I think that's why his child disappeared. He's gonna try the different format. I don't know. He's not coming back.
Is there another speaker? Could we?
No, we should really go on to questions of staff if that's desirable.
I don't have questions of staff. Just put me down to speak. Oh, here's Mr. Cattell.
Okay, am I being heard now?
Yes, much better.
Okay, I apologize. I don't know why I had that problem, but anyway, I'm here now. So thank you, Chair Pasternak and members of council. As you know, this application proposed the development of three separate properties: 1787, which is the overbuild of the Leaside Station, the LRT, and two other buildings which are quadruplexes built in the 1940s, their heritage. The application proposes an OPA for the redesignation of the two quads from neighborhoods to mixed use, and a ZBA for the three of them. And of course, the applicant has appealed to the Ontario Land Tribunal, but no date has been set for a hearing. There's been no case management conference. There's been no public involvement in this, other than what the city has arranged. So I'm actually quite surprised to hear that things are getting tense in terms of discussions, because there hasn't been any opportunity for residents to get involved in that discussion. To summarize, the application, one, lacks consideration and integration with its Leaside context, including Talbot Park to the east and the built heritage on two of the three properties on the site and to the south. Secondly, it lacks design ambition. It's an unimaginative, mediocre proposal as rated by the design community. There were just incredibly disparaging comments by the members of the design community in the blog thing, Urban Toronto, that some of you may be aware of, when it was applied for. And by the way, the LRA and our counterparts across Bayview, the CEDRA, have requested that this application, in view of the many issues and the landmark status of this site, that the application be referred to the Design Review Committee. And I did hear yesterday that well, we asked back in March. We now hear something may be happening along that line. Maybe staff can comment. Okay, what are the issues specifically? First of all, excessive height and massing. Although the Bayview focus area plan in 2018 and PA 405 both indicate the focus area will include high-rise development, especially close to the station. However, the northwest corner, where the metro is by far the most suitable, given its large property size and without green space recreation impacts and heritage concerns that are endemic to the southeast corner. Its southeast corner is the very sensitive site. Secondly, a lack of respect for the public infrastructure investment of the station as a public building. The proposed overbuild of the station does not respect that the LRT is a public building. The building's podium envelopes and overpowers the station building. The podium should be redesigned to preserve the station's independence and separation from the overbuild. Thirdly, the lack of respect for the location next to Talbot Park. You've heard from Cameron Steinman. The proposed building is formulaic and lacking in originality or context sensitivity to Talbot Park. It's an important green space, community recreation area, and two baseball diamonds, as you've heard. But it's also located 2 stories below grade. I mean, this is a creek, a river creek that was converted into a park back in the 1950s. And so it adds to the shadowing effect and the other issues that Cameron spoke to of the adjacent development. The design needs to reduce the shadow impact on Talbot Park. The location next to the diamonds creates unique impacts. For example, the need for protection from damage to to people and to glass and apartments. Putting netting up isn't going to solve the whole problem, right? You've got a liability problem. The city needs to be and the club needs to be protected from that possible liability. Somebody could get killed. Somebody could get, anyway. Fourthly, the building materiality. The materials are poor quality, cheap. The developer and their architect should be requested to provide material options. Fifthly, and very importantly, the disregard of the quad's cultural heritage status and value. All 10, there's a whole street there of quads, and they were, by the community, they were proposed for, submitted for heritage back in 2011. That's 12 years ago. Two of them are designated, but only one of the two that is under proposal right here is heritage designated. The one, the furthest north, 1783 to 85. The other one, 1779 to 81, is not. The GBCA, the applicant's heritage consultant, in their report, they agree that both deserve heritage status, but feel they can be sacrificed for no other reason than that there are 8 quads remaining. This finding fails to see the big picture, the integrity of the Talbot quads as an intact set of 10 fourplexes forming a unique and pleasant streetscape from just south of Eglinton to just north of Parkhurst. And the importance of Henry Howard Talbot as the key
Jeff,
builder in Leaside.
You're at 6 minutes. You'll have to wrap up.
I do have more. Maybe you want to ask me a question or something.
Yeah, I mean, if any comments can be included in the questions, if councillors have questions. So thank you, Jeff. I'm sorry, but I gave you an extra minute. Any questions for the deputant? There are none, but we do have your correspondence on file, I believe.
Yes, and I do have recommendations, which are in the report there, and we did request that the councillor would make those recommendations.
All right. Well, we'll make sure that he gets those, and we'll be working to support him.
No, it's Councillor Robinson.
Yeah, her. Sorry. Okay. Well, thank you very much for that, Jeff. And of course, I'm always a big fan of Leaside. I went to Leaside High School. They say Stephen Harper was there when I was there, but I really don't remember him.
Oh, he lived on the next street on Besborough.
Yeah. But he was at the high school when I was there, but I must admit, I do not remember him. So anyway, thank you very much, Jeff, for your deputation. Questions of staff?
Put me down to speak. Sorry.
Okay. No, I'm sorry. Were there any questions of staff? Was
Yes.
that a no? There are. Okay. So Councillor Cole and then Councillor Cheng, questions of staff.
So this is before the Ontario Land Tribunal, is it not?
Through you, Mr. Yes, this application has been appealed to the Ontario Land Tribunal.
So are we allowed to discuss this, given all the secrecy and the prohibition against any kind of public discussion about items that are in litigation? What does the lawyer say?
I will allow the lawyer to answer that.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, the file can be discussed. Facts about the application can be discussed. Any discussion about potential settlement or discussions with the applicant should not be discussed publicly.
What does that mean? What can we discuss?
You can discuss what is being proposed for the site, all of which is public and in the public report. We would avoid questions to planning about potentials for settlement or improvements that could be made. Those discussions should remain confidential and should not be discussed in an open meeting.
So any perhaps discussions about making improvements to the park, asking the developer to pay for some of those improvements, we can't discuss that.
No, I think you could ask questions about what the legislation allows us to get from the developer. If it's a question of trying to settle on those grounds, again, yes, that would be outside of the bounds. There may be some legitimate questions about what we can ask the developer to do with respect to the park. I would allow park staff to comment on that.
Okay, thank you very much, Jessica. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cole. Did I see Councillor Cheng's hand go up for this or no?
Yes, you did.
Yeah, thank you.
I wanted to ask, is there an opportunity for development charges to be applied to park upgrades?
Through you, the chair, I can answer that question. The Parks and Recreation component of development charges can only be applied to parkland secured through said development. So in this case, because Howard Talbot Park is an existing park, the Parks and Recreation component of the development charges can't be applied to improvements to said park.
Can't?
Cannot, yes.
Okay, thank you.
So only community benefits charges could be applied, is that correct?
I would defer to planning to respond to the CBC component.
Yes, there could be CBC charges, CBC applied to the park, to improvements to local parks. Yes.
Okay, so is there a projection of what 4% of this project would be?
So as the application is still under appeal, and there's as you'll see in the appeal report, there's a number of issues that are listed there. We have not come to a point where we've done any of that. I mean, the CBC, if this application eventually would get supported and approved at the OLT, they would pay those fees at the time of building permit, and that would be assessed at that time. We have not done an estimate as to what that amount could be at this time. Again, if this application is also approved, there's a site plan application process that will look at the details of that interface between the building and the adjacent park.
And I see that the building is creating pillars around the station, right? And we see that across the whole new line, there's lots of these glass boxes appearing that many people are quite surprised that they haven't been planned to be incorporated into a building. Is there an opportunity that this building could, instead of using just pillars and building around the glass box, that the station could be incorporated into the building design, and which would then perhaps create an opportunity for ground floor retail, which would be really important for the animation of Eglinton and Bayview frontage?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, Councillor, we are looking at looking at the base building in particular and better ways to integrate it. There are also Metrolinx requirements here, so it would be a conversation we have with the applicant and with Metrolinx, and we're still looking at the design of the base. There is some commercial retail proposed as part of this development along the Bayview frontage, but that is still an issue that will remain that we need to work through for the OLT.
And is there currently any community benefit plan for inside the building, or is it not being included?
At this time, the applicant has not proposed any CBC benefit, any in-kind on-site.
So is it at the behest of the developer to offer it, or is it up to, like, is it a negotiation? Can the councillor request it, or how does that happen in this new regime? Is the two have to agree? One has to ask for it. Is that correct?
Well, that's correct. I mean, the developer has to agree, and the city has to agree to accept the benefit that's being provided. In this case, we haven't, as the application has been appealed, we haven't advanced any conversation about, if there would be a community benefit on site at this location at this time.
And therefore, there's been no conversation of including affordable housing, then, I'm assuming. Is that correct?
There is a requirement for rental replacement. I don't think we've got into an in-depth conversation yet about any of the affordable housing. Affordable housing is something we typically ask for in all of our developments, though.
And have there been any explorations of different kind of massing that would allow for some more light penetration to the park?
So the building height is proposed at 35 stories, which is within the approved range for this site within the Yonge Eglinton secondary plan. The secondary plan, I believe, allows for 20 to 35. So we are reviewing shadow studies. There are changes that we've requested to the proposed, I would say, massing more so with the ground floor level that's highlighted in the report. But the height is within the range of the Yonge Eglinton secondary plan, but that doesn't mean that there won't be changes to the massing that would improve it. But I think the plan recognizes that there's potential for a building there between 20 and 35 stories.
And when will the public consultation happen in this process? Because it sounds like the community members feel like they're very much in the dark right now.
There is no public consultations at the Ontario Land Tribunal.
So there was a community consultation meeting with the community. I'm just trying to get a date for you, but there was a community consultation meeting that was held. And now it's been appealed to the Ontario Municipal Board. I think the report does include a section in there of some of the issues that the community had highlighted during the community consultation, which was, I'm just checking, March 1st of this year.
Great, thank you so much.
I've just got my hand up to speak to it, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, no, thank you, Councillor Carroll. I was just getting some direction from the local councillor on this item. That's why I was slightly distracted. Any other questions for any other questions for staff, or we can move on to speakers? Councillor Carroll, you can speak. And go ahead.
Yeah, so this is a tricky site, but I have to preface my comments with saying, with due respect to the Leaside Association, the Residents Association that we all know so well, I don't mean to be flip when I say hallelujah. This is what should be on top of every Eglinton Crosstown station, not a single story glass box. We cannot be outraged at the Premier trying to steal the Greenbelt if we are not willing to build on top of transit stations. That being said, I think what we're asking of our planning staff and our legal staff is they now have to go into the far too closed process that Bill 23 and its 90-day deadline makes, because let's face it, you can have your initial conversations with the councillor, you can have your CCM meeting with the community, and then you're pretty much at the 90 days and the whole thing goes underground in the confidential legal process that is now the Ontario Land Tribunal process. That's what Bill 109 and 123 have brought, or 23 have brought. That's the process now, which is unfair. But that's why I think what we have to as councillors use that community consultation meeting. We need to warn people that if they go to the tribunal, this is probably going to be our only chance. So you need to really articulate, if something's going to happen, because this is on top of a transit station, tell me, community, what are the deal breakers? And that's why I'm so grateful for Mr. Steinman's appearance today at our hearing to remind us of things that he mentioned that he has already talked to Councillor Burnside about back in the day when it was clear this was a potential site for development. The tricky part with Talbot Park is it's in a bit of a dip. There's actually a grade down from what used to be the McDonald's down to the park and the baseball diamond, which is why you can't really mitigate the shadow impacts, but we can make clear that this has to be a usable park. And I think we have to push developers. If they say they didn't ask for Bill 23, then man up to that and be the good community partner that is going to make sure you have decent, high-flying baseball netting. I have very effective baseball netting at Oriole Park in the Peanut, which is surrounded by apartment buildings, but it's real tall and someone has to install it. Man up to that, Mr. Applicant, if you're listening to the meeting today, and do that for this community and install some lights. I know that the infrastructure is there to do so because there's hydro infrastructure for the lighting over the school field beside it. So light these baseball diamonds, put in the netting and agree to it in adequate timing that makes it such that they don't have to lose a season. But for planning, they now need to achieve all these design guidelines and retail grade, all the opportunities we want them to. But we really do have to preface our remarks with, this is what we want to do. We want to build housing on transit avenues and in particular on top of the station. Those are my comments, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Carroll. Anyone else want to speak on the item
Councillor
before I
Cole?
just? Yes, Councillor Cole, go ahead.
Yeah, I know. Listen, we're in the middle of this incredible quagmire of change that has been thrust upon the citizens of Toronto with, Bill 23, 109, 108, who knows what other bills, but so it's hard to keep for the citizens to keep up and for us to keep up and the planning staff to keep up. But I just want to reinforce what Councillor Carroll said. Building over stations, that's a no-brainer. That's how they built the KCRC in Hong Kong. The whole light rail system in Hong Kong was financed by selling the air rights over all the KCRC stations. And that's why you'll see every station on the KCRC in Hong Kong has vertical towers on it. That's how they paid for the stations and paid for other infrastructure in the city of Hong Kong. On the Eglinton Crosstown, God forbid that I was involved in that going back to prehistoric days. When they built it out, all the stations are lacking in housing over the stations. The only station that has housing over it and retail is Little Jamaica Station. That's the Oakwood Station. Thanks to Councillor Moscow and my son, Councillor Cole, Josh, they got a 16-story affordable building built over that station with a Green Pea parking lot and retail. So that's the form we should be taking rather than knocking out heritage buildings. Build over the stations. And that is the big missing piece in what's happening in terms of building housing on transit stations. How can you do this along this $13 billion line and have empty space around and over the stations? That's the biggest flaw of this whole Eglinton Crosstown boondoggle disaster. And so here's another example where, the least side, Jeff is saying, Cattell is saying, you shouldn't be building over the stations. Totally disagree. That's where we should be building. And that's where people can go directly into the station from their building, relieves congestion. And it's another way of cities raising revenue. City of Toronto, if we could sell the air rights over these stations, you can imagine we could fund some of the billion-dollar gaps we have as a result of taking care of all the federal and provincial issues at the City of Toronto. So, and then again, just want to make a closing comment is this whole confusion, public participation, there isn't any. It's gone. You have these perfunctory community meetings that happen online, virtually, very few people attend, then bang, sometimes even before we have a community consultation meeting, the applicant is at Mr. Ford's Ontario Land Tribunal. And you can't have public consultation there because the lawyers tell us as councillors, we can't talk about it. The public, if they want to participate, they got to pay to participate. But nobody understands that's what's happened. There is no public consultation on the planning of our city anymore. We are fighting to get some public input into this whack-a-mole process that we've come into here, thanks to Mr. Clark and Mr. Ford and company. But the public doesn't know that's what's happened to their communities. And this is a perfect example where we have no say, the public has no say, council has no say. And we've got this bizarre system, as I said, of building our city. And then there's no benefits. There's no Section 37. There's minuscule development charges, don't pay for anything. 4% cap, give me a break. There's no money to build the parks, libraries, green space, never mind a recreation facility when people are in box-sized apartments or.
Councillor Cole, you'll have to.
I have 2 seconds. People need more community.
Not anymore.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Cole. I was going to speak, but I noticed it's 10 after 11, and we have to finish by noon. So I'm going to hold my comments. Anyone else wants to speak on the item? The local councillor has asked me to mention 2 things. Oh. One is she takes the concerns of the local park and the baseball league very seriously, and she's going to be working going forward on ensuring that the shadowing issues are mitigated. And as touched on in these discussions, the CBC should be able to cover at least the lighting for this park if it meets the various requirements. The other one she wants to continue to look closely at is the heritage issues. I believe there's buildings. And I should add that the property owner does want to settle this at the local level. They do not want this to go to appeal. So there is a desire by all parties to wrestle with these issues, whether they be, I think there's some engineering issues, some methane gas issues, obviously the park, the heritage. There's a real desire to solve these issues, and that the gap between today's adoption of a direction to staff and any kind of formal hearing is a long one. And that will give ample time to solve some of these local issues. So unless there's any other comments, I'm going to move the staff recommendations. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Next item I have on the list is item 12, 1184 Wilson Avenue. I have a speaker on it. It's a residential demolition application. Adam Grossi. Mr. Grossi?
Good morning, Mr. Chair. I can't seem to stay unmuted for some reason. Everyone hear me?
All right. Yeah, we can hear you. You have 5 minutes.
Okay, I actually don't have any comments to make to the committee. I only wanted to appear in case there were any questions about the application. So I'm happy to wait. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, look forward to hearing committee's decision.
I have some questions.
Councillor Cheng.
When do we expect this land to be developed? What is the timeline towards actually having shovels in the ground?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to the local councillor, we would like to get working as soon as humanly possible. We made a request some time ago for a pre-application meeting for site plan approval, meeting for our date at the beginning of October. We have, quite frankly, materials ready to be submitted now, but we got to wait for that process to play itself out. We are actively working on permit drawings. We've had a number of conversations with Toronto building staff about the issuance of permits, how permits can be done on a conditional basis to allow us to start work as quickly as possible. I mean, it was always our intention to begin in the 2023 calendar year. I don't know that that's going to be the case, but certainly early in 2024, we would like to have shovels in the ground.
2024. Probably late 2024, maybe even longer. And what I noted that it says that it was in disrepair upon purchase. When was it purchased?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to the local councillor. Admittedly, that is before my time in the employ of the owner, but I believe it was in 2016, 2017. The house even at that time had been vacant for a number of years.
Okay. And and does anyone know how long it's been in this kind of squatter state?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to the local council again. I couldn't answer. I would, having been inside the house, I would have to guess a large number of years.
Okay. Okay, that's all my questions.
Thank you, Councillor Cheng. Any other questions for the deputant? I was going to speak because it's in my area. Anyone else wants to speak?
Oh,
no.
Yeah.
No, you're okay.
I want to speak, if that's okay.
Sure. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I think what is troubling is this is happening across the city. So there is housing that is waiting for development, and it just is left in disrepair. Squatters move in. It becomes like there's no possibility of using the house. It becomes an eyesore. And then now you come to this moment in time where then the request is made for an earlier demolition without a plan being in place. And I think that with our housing crisis, there should be ways that we de-incentivize this type of choice where houses are not allowed to get into the state. And the other question that I don't have an answer for at this point is, when a house is demolished, does the vacancy tax no longer apply? And so I'm concerned just about the economic impact, the loss of housing, and having these eyesores crop up all over the city. I have a few in my neighborhood, and I think that we should find a way to prevent us, because if a house is waiting development, it can be used for temporary transitional housing. And it's something that I'm exploring currently in my neighborhood of how we can even spend a minimum amount of money to rehabilitate a house for a few years to allow for some transitional housing for refugee claimants for which we are lacking housing. So anytime we lose housing prematurely is not a good thing in our city. And this is an example of something that's happening a lot. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cheng. Any other speakers before I speak to it? So I'm going to be moving recommendation number 3. This building has to come down. It provides no community or social purpose. This development application, at least the design and engineering of it, is well along. We've met with the property owners and the developers many times. I believe that this will not be a vacant site for years to come. I think they're anxious to get things going. And I don't think it is in the public interest to leave this building up. I think this is a reasonable request. But any kind of approval before us will come with conditions which are listed in item 3. They have to clear the site, and they have to make sure that it's free of garbage, weeds, and any of the holes on the site have to be backfilled. So I will I will move item 3, approving the demolition with conditions. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you very much. Item number 21 is next, 422 Lytton Boulevard. Application to remove a private tree. Jamie Finkelstein, are you online?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Hi, thank you. Thanks for to the committee for hearing our appeal. I just wanted to stress that we feel that this tree is very dangerous. It's very, very big and heavy and very close to our home. In the event of a windstorm, ice storm, or strike by lightning, we're pretty worried that there's a high chance that this tree could strike our home and potentially cause danger to our children and damage our home. It's also a path for animals to reach our roof. Just as recently as Monday night, we had raccoons on the top of our home making loud noises and scaring our children. We understand and definitely agree with the mandate that the city council has to expand the green canopy in the city. We feel that a replacement plan that that staff proposed in the brief would create more greenery on our street over time than this existing tree and would remove our concerns about the tree near our home. We're hoping the committee will consider granting us a permit to remove the tree and replant several replacement trees on our property. Thank you for hearing our appeal, and I appreciate your time.
Great, thank you very much. Any questions for the deputant? I'm sorry, I couldn't see the images. Any questions for the deputant?
I would like to know, what is the tree replacement plan that was mentioned?
We sent one in. We have at least 5 trees to go all along ours and our neighbors' property, because the tree's it's on our property, but it's kind of over their house too. So just to remove that and then plant trees kind of going all the way along the property line there.
So would it just be further from the building? Because
yeah, and just, starting, I guess, with, eventually the trees will get that big, but yeah, definitely further away. And just, this tree is so big. It's so large. And
so 5 trees, you're going to plant 5 trees in that short distance to the
yeah,
side?
it's a deep, our property's deep to go all the way further out.
Sorry, can you guys hear me as well? It's Mike Finkelstein, Jamie's husband. Yeah, so I think the plan is the plan that was elaborated by staff is just to have replacement trees all along the tree line, and there definitely is room to have. They would be smaller trees to start, but room for them to grow to be much larger, all the way across the the property line to provide the extra green canopy and also the privacy between us and our neighbors. That's been the plan to start. So we would remove the tree and then add. I think I can't remember the exact species, but there was a recommendation from the arborist that we worked with to add five trees, at least 5. I think it's actually 8 trees if I'm remembering correctly, but I have to go back and check.
Because it looks quite crowded beside the tree. There's already several trees towards the property line on your neighbor's side, I think.
No, I think there's some. I'm just kind of looking outside right now, but
we have definitely we have small.
Yeah, there's shrubs and stuff, but I think the idea is to build bigger trees that would be. There's actually some trees down the road. You probably don't have pictures of it handy, Councillor, but that are kind of similar on the other side of our neighbor's property. That maybe they're going to speak as well, actually, as the next speaker. So maybe they can sort of speak to that. But that would be the idea, to replace the existing tree with smaller, further away trees, smaller to start with, but they will grow to be bigger. Further down towards away from our property, our home on our property, obviously.
And has the tree been pruned recently? Is there some pruning that's happened with regard?
I think our neighbors actually did do some pruning. Actually, not long, maybe a month ago or so. But again, Mark's on the line and he can speak to that as he.
Sure. Okay, thank you. Those are all my questions.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay, thank you,
you.
Councillor Chang. Any other questions for the deputants? Okay, let's bring it into committee. Any questions for staff?
No, just to speak.
Okay, Councillor Cole, did you want to speak last, or and I'll let Councillor Carroll go first, and then Councillor Cole, you can.
Mr. Green has a.
Oh, I see a very frantic clerk over there. What?
There's another speaker on this. There's someone named Mark Bordeaux.
Oh, thank you for alerting me. Okay, so there's sorry, councillors, we have one more speaker on this item. I thought I heard Mark on that call. Was he on that call? Okay, Mr. Bordeaux.
Hi, everybody. Thank you very much for hearing our appeal. This is actually my first time at a council meeting, so it's nice to see all the great work you do. We're very appreciative, and thanks. It's interesting to watch the process too. I just want to echo my neighbor's concerns. So we're on the other side of the tree. Even a storm like last night is pretty frightening. The tree is a massive tree. It is right next to my young daughter's bedroom, and it is a very big concern of ours that it could fall. And if it did fall, it would probably land on either their house or on directly on my young daughter's bedroom. So the safety concern is true and something that we are nervous about every time we have a storm. And, certainly like one like last night was frightening. In addition to that, we experienced so much property damage from this tree. We did have the tree pruned about a month ago. The tree sheds needles all over our roof, all over our eaves troughs, into our air conditioners, into our cars. We've had to put quite a lot of money into just clean up and fixing from the shedding of this tree. So in addition to the safety concerns, there's always property damage coming from this tree. We are committed, just like our neighbors, to actively and immediately really nice greenery and trees along this line, and we're going to make it look beautiful there. But I hope you take this request specifically around the safety of both of our homes as a major concern for a long time, and why we sort of went down this road together. But I completely echo what my great neighbors are saying. Thank you.
Okay, Mark, thank you very much for your comments. Any questions for the deputant? No? Okay, thank you very much, Mark. Are there any questions for staff? No, and I think we're going to speaker. I think it's Councillor Cole, and it's Councillor Carroll, and then Councillor Cole.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to, I don't know what the local councillor is going to move. I suspect it's going to be something contrary to staff recommendations, but I would actually like to move the staff recommendations so that we vote on them, so that I can record my vote therein. I want to thank staff. The reason I don't have questions of staff is because they've really written us a detailed report, and I wanted to highlight it because in the past we've been frustrated because we don't have enough detail, and the reports have seemed to be a little too by rote and not really giving us any sense of their evaluation. Sketchy even on the arborist report provided by the applicant. This one is actually quite detailed, and that's quite helpful. The reason I'm supporting staff's recommendation to deny is because I've had past experience with trees that have this phototropic effect to their trunk, and while it may look vulnerable, our understanding in the last one, an arborist spoke, which was the applicant's arborist, and then the city arborist spoke, and in fact, on questioning, even the applicant's arborist had to admit that the phototropic effect that causes the tree to sort of bend to find the light, if it's between structures or something like that, doesn't make it any more vulnerable than a tree that is stick stock straight. Just appears that way. It's natural for us to think that. But as it says in the report, even the applicant's arborist lists the tree as in fair condition. But in fact, what staff found when they went there was a tree in good condition, strong roots, does have the phototropic effect, but they're not worried about what's going on up in the crown. And you know, as so often happens with these, their feeling is that all this tree requires is regular tree maintenance. If you have a tree on your property, whether it's the ones you're gonna plant if this one comes down, or this tree, either way, if you have trees on your property, you're best off having an arborist do regular maintenance and help you maintain the health of that tree, because it does add value to your property, and it certainly adds value to our environmental tree canopy. That's why we have this policy. So those are my comments, and I am moving the staff recommendation. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Carroll. Councillor Cole?
I'm moving staff recommendation.
Oh, we have maybe we'll have an arm wrestle over who gets to move staff recommendation. Anyone else to speak on the item?
Sorry, I'm happy to remove my motion if the councillor would prefer to have it on the books as having been moved by the local council.
Yeah, I was just kidding.
Okay.
I mean, it's fine. I don't know. I'm getting movements from the clerk. Is there something you'd like to mention on this item? We're ready to vote on it.
I really just wanted to make sure that we were talking about the staff recommendation that is to deny. It's the only recommendation.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay,
No,
I understand.
Yeah. There's been no amendment to approve the removal, so the report before us recommends denying the application. So that's what we'll be voting on. So, Councillor Cole is the local councillor. You want to move the staff recommendation? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Last item is item number 22, 30 Blithfield Avenue, application for a fence exemption. And we do have a deputant, Richard Azadian. Azadian.
Hello, everyone.
Oh, yes. Hi, Richard. Thank you for joining us. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you for taking your time. Basically, I have to say a little bit of the reason I'm here. I construct a pool through the whole company in my backyard. And then they told me that later on, after reconstructing the bylaw for the fence, which I knew there was some bylaws, I got to enclose it. And I called the city inspector to see if there is any other way not to install that fence around the pool and do differently, which is still passes the bylaw. Instead of coming back to me for a recommendation that he promised, I got a violation. Basically, I got 2 items here. The contractor for the pool that they made the pool, instead of having 4 feet concrete, they made 3 feet concrete, which I wasn't aware about it, that the code is 4 feet past the pool edge, you have to put the fence. But that's not really important for me. The important part is that I construct the fence around the perimeter of my property in my cost and on my own property. And I finished my side completely, and the neighbor side is 3 2x4s, 1 in the middle, 1 in the top, 1 at the bottom. The inspector is asking me that that's not safe for the kids. They can climb. Meanwhile, I have attached the photos. If you guys have it, I can share it with you guys. Even it shows that they're all, there's another fence in the back and this, with 4 feet high, and there are a lot of bushes there. I can't even get to the area to finish the back part, even if I want to. I'm asking the committee for 2 I'm here for two reasons. Once, I don't have to finish the fence. The other side, I don't mind adding a foot of ladders on top to make it 4 feet, if you guys approve it. And the second, if it's possible to put the fence instead of 4 feet from the pool and 3 feet from the pool. That's all about it. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions for the deputant?
Mr. Chair, I have questions of the deputant, but I'm in your hands here because I have not had contact with the applicant on this. This just appeared on the agenda and didn't have a chance to work with it. As you can well imagine, we were kind of busy leading up to council when this appeared on the agenda. I could ask the deputant questions now, but I may want to defer this so that I can actually talk to the applicant and to our staff. Would it be better if I save those questions until this comes back to the agenda?
Yeah, I think, you know what, what's required here, I'm looking at the actions required and it seems very minimal, but for a fruitful discussion, it should probably be deferred.
Yeah, it looks, I mean, I'm very happy. I have an applicant here who is willing to build a proper pool enclosure around the fence. And I have to thank you, Mr. Azzedine, because that is often not the case for us. So I'm very happy about that. But it looks like there's some really technical minutia here, and I don't want to hold you all up. I would prefer to defer this and hopefully come back to you with something that is at the next meeting with something that's more properly wrapped up in a big bow.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. As long as, you know, as I said, I want to follow the rules, but I really don't want to finish the neighbor's side. It might cost, and it's gonna cost in this economy almost $10,000, which it's really not necessary. I don't know if you have access to the photos. You can see there is no access from the neighbor's side to my property. It's impossible. Somebody gets and climbs my fence. That's the only reason.
I think I just need to see that physically. What I love is to make a site visit and then we can bring back the finished thing.
Open to that.
Yeah.
So I'll move a motion to defer, Mr. Chair, just for one meeting. We'll move heaven and earth to try and get this done in time for the next community council.
Okay. All right. So Mr. Clerk, we have a motion before us to defer. Oh, there we go. Okay. The motion is on the screen to the October 17th, 2023 meeting. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Mr. Clerk, according to my notes in front of me, are there any other items? I'm showing we are completed the agenda, so we can do the confirmatory bills. Okay, Councillor Cheng, would you like to read the confirmatory bills?
Sure, that confirmatory bills to confirm the legislative proceedings of the North York Community Council acting under delegated authority at meeting 7 on September 7th, 2023, be declared as bylaws and passed subject to section 226.9 of the City of Toronto Act 2006.
Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Thanks, Matthew.
One more, Councillor Carroll.
Darn it.
And you can have the honor of reading it.
Oh, okay. That Bill 769 to 775 and 782 prepared for the September 7th, 2023 meeting number 7 of the North York Community Council be declared as bylaws and passed subject to section 226.9 of the City of Toronto Act 2006.
Great. Thank you very much. All those in favor? Opposed?
It's
That
been
is
a
carried.
pleasure visiting my favorite part of the city, North York. Again, it's my intention as the Deputy Mayor representing North York, I'm going to make North York great again. That's my.
Yeah, you should move in. We'd love to have you as our new neighbor, right, Lily?
Yes, and you have to make
I
Naga
actually lived
hats.
in North York.
I lived there
Naga.
Naga, yeah, Naga.
It's really the forgotten,
anyway,
jewel of Toronto, North York. We've got to boost North York more. People take it for granted. There's incredible parks and people and some of the best food this side of Scarborough. It's found in North York.
East of North York
places.
is happening this weekend at Mel Lastman
That's
Square.
right. When is that?
This
I was going to
weekend.
come up with that. Where?
This weekend, Mel Lastman Square.
When this weekend?
All weekend, like Friday night, all of Saturday, all of Sunday.
I'm going to be there, and I'm going to enjoy the incredible food available in North York.
Amazing. You know what,
can we
Councillor
invite-
Cole? I'll get my staff to connect with your staff, and we'll get you on stage to say hi to the community.
No, I don't want to go on
Anyway,
stage. I just want to
I'd
eat.
like to,
I don't care about
before we go
stages.
off
I
the
just-
air, thank you, councillors. Before
Now,
we
there's
go
got to
off the
be
air, I
time
wanted
for
to
North
thank,
York.
I wanted
I'm
to thank,
surprised,
no,
Councillor
no,
Pasternak, don't give us time to promote North York. This is an important event. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
That's right.
Mel Lastman Square.
That's right.
No admission fee.
No,
There's
totally
food from all
free.
over the world up here. So come to North York this weekend. I'm going to be there. Councillor Cheng's going to be there. I hope, Councillor Pasternak, you can visit. Find time to visit this beautiful part of the city.
I'm going to try and get in there. I'm quadruple booked already for Sunday,
Oh,
but
never
anyway,
mind.
I'd like to
We're all
thank,
quadruple booked. No excuses. We'll be seeing you there.
I just wanted to thank,
Taste of North York.
I
Good
wanted
plug,
to thank
Lily. Thanks.
members of the public. I want to thank members of the public, our deputants, our city staff, the clerks, and of course, my councillor colleagues for a very successful meeting done on time and on budget.
North York is where it's at.
Keeping my promise.